Marriage is the oldest institution extending back to the Garden of Eden. According to the scriptures, God made man, and then God made the woman, and subsequently, he brought her to the man. That is Genesis 2:22. Thus, marriage is ordained by God and was initiated by him at the time of creation. Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Over time, we have evolved as a people. The institution of marriage is gradually loosen its role in the development of a sustainable institution. Rather than playing complementary roles, couples are becoming competitors. On today's episode of your program, The Platform, we are going to have a conversation on entrepreneurship and marriage. And to do that with me, I have some very important personalities with me in the studio. My guests will be introducing themselves after this short break. Don't go away. You're welcome back. And before we went on that short break, I told you that I have the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery here with me in the studio. And I also have one more person that's a surprise. So I'm going to leave all of them right now to introduce themselves, okay? So join me as we start with the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery. So let's start with you, Akitunde.
Well, so my name is Akitunde Akindipe, and like you rightly mentioned, I'm the CEO of Arabelle's Bakery. I think that might be all you need to know about me for now, and hopefully as the conversation goes on, I'll share more about myself.
Absolutely. And
my name is Olufunmilayo Akindipe. I'm his wife and is co-CEO, CFO of Arabelle's Bakery. And I guess as we continue to discuss, like you said, we'll get to know us better.
All right. So like I said, I told you that I have one more person in the studio with me, and he is going to introduce himself. I don't know him. So can we please meet you?
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. My name is Gbolahan Odunto. I'm the CEO of STO Global Concepts Incorporated. I'm lucky enough to be the husband of Bumi Odunto. And I'm not just on set today, I'm on set through the invitation of Mr. Akitunde.
Yeah, all thanks to Mr. Akitunde for bringing up this idea. So we're going to move on now. So the next thing that we're going to do is we want to talk about how we all met. Okay, we met somehow, but because we are actually having you here, we want to know how you guys met. And I'm going to start with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Well, we both have different stories, I think.
Different versions.
Different versions of the story. We met at the University of Winnipeg.
Yeah.
We've always known each other. At some point, we were neighbors. We were attending the same church.
Wow.
But I think the relationship started when we both went for a course. We had known each other for years. And we both went for a course, and we were both in the same class.
Okay.
And I was late to that class, and there was no other seat left, and I had to sit next to him.
Oh, wow.
And that's how our friendship began. And from the friendship, then we graduated into a relationship, and here we are years later. What do you have to say?
I think my version of the story is a bit more elaborate.
Okay. Okay, maybe she just gave us a remixed version.
A summary of the relationship. But like she said, we've always known each other. I came to Canada in 2003, August, and she came to Canada in January of the same year.
Oh, wow.
We were both going to the University of Winnipeg, and so when I came, at some point at the university, I ran into her, and I saw her. I went to talk to her. Interestingly, asked her out on a date.
Oh, wow.
I knew there was something there. But she, what we call putting someone on is coming.
Yeah.
Basically said, yeah, I would took my number, I would get in touch with you, but never did.
She disappeared.
So she disappeared. But I kind of left it that way. We kept seeing each other at the university, but it's kind of interesting how God does things, that God knew we were supposed to be together, so kept putting us in the same environment, right? Not long after that, I think at some point I ran into her at the university, and she said she was looking for an apartment. Wow. It so happens there was space in the next door apartment.
Imagine.
Wow. So I told her, I can talk to the caretaker, and she eventually got the apartment. We still weren't really communicating. Right? Several times walking down the stairs, I would see her walking upstairs, and we'd just say hi. Hello, hi, and leave it at that. And eventually I was taking this course at the college here in Winnipeg, and first day of class, everybody was there, and the teacher said, there's someone running late. We have to wait until someone comes that is running late. And we waited for a few minutes, and eventually she walked in, and the teacher said, well, we've run out of space. The only seat for you is right next to that guy sitting there, which happens to be me. So as soon as I saw her walking towards me, I'm like, this girl again. This time God has trapped you, right? So, we became seatmates, and that really built the relationship. Because now she's forced to sit with me every day of the college, and so a lot of conversations. The more we had conversations, I was surprised about how much we have in common. Values, and our experiences through life are similar, and we have the same visions through life. So that's where the relationship actually started from, and it kind of grew from there to become what it is today.
To where we are today. All glory be to the Lord. Okay, so same question I'm going to actually ask this guy. How he met his wife. I don't know his wife anyway. So how did you meet your wife?
Well, I would just say it's God's time as at when I met her. And as a guy, you have gone on so many escapades, and there comes a time in your life that you feel it's time to settle down.
Right.
And for me, I had certain expectations from whoever I was going to settle down with. I understood myself quite well that there's this tendency in me that I wanted to always be in God's presence, and I wanted someone that is spiritual, that we could work together. So I was working back home then in an insurance organization, and on this fateful day, I was just walking past the staircase and I saw an elegant lady walking upstairs. And I'm like, wow, okay. So I went back to my desk, continued my work, but I was not just comfortable walking. Right. I went back to the receptionist to ask, where did that lady go to? And I was told she went to the MD's office. Okay. So I was just walking past almost every 5 minutes to see her walk beside that. And when she left, I didn't see her. But somehow I knew there was a connection, even though I've not even said anything to her. And I think a week after, she resumed, and she was introduced to everybody that she's going to start to work probably on a training or something with us. Okay. I said, wow, that means God is your So in the course of our training, she was to spend a week in every department. So when I was working in the accounts department. So when it got to my department, my manager paired her with me, that I have to train her. So at that instance, I had opportunity to converse with her. One day she was going out for lunch, and I just told my friends, guys, let's go for lunch. They were like, ordinarily I don't go out for lunch. Yeah. I said, there's a mission.
I'm going to shoot my shot.
So we went out for lunch. All through, she always would keep to herself, and when she got there, Before she finished her lunch, I paid. I went away. I never said anything. So we got back to the office and she was like, they said you paid for me. Why did you pay for me? Don't worry. You know, I'm just being a nice guy.
I'm just doing God's work.
So that was how it all started. So in the course of training her, we got talking. Then I began to see the values in her, which were aligning with what I was actually looking out for. She will get to her desk in the morning, pray before starting anything. When I say, let me train you on this, she says, let's pray first. She didn't know that she was answering my own questions inwardly. So that was how it started. And few months into friendship, it turned out to dating, and the rest is history.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. So that's the story anyway. I won't bore you, so I will not want to go over it any longer. So let's come back to where we started from. So your bakery is actually the first to produce the local Nigerian bread here in Manitoba, and that's the Agege bread. I love that bread. Come on. Okay. So how did you come with the idea, and what motivated you, Akitunde?
That's a great question. The idea is one of those ideas that come out of nowhere. It almost seems to me like it's a whisper from God that just doesn't seem to go away. Like I consider it to be like a lightning in a bottle kind of moment, like things that don't happen often, right? I think a while ago, so many years ago, maybe about 15 years ago or so, I had traveled on a trip and came back. I remember I was so excited, and I said to my wife then that, I have this idea. I think we should start making bread. And at that point in time, I think based on where she was in life then, she was like, I don't see that as being viable, right? So I abandoned that idea so many years ago. At some point, she was working as a nurse, and was enjoying her profession and all that. But suddenly, there was a day I came home and she brought the idea again and said, I remember so many years ago, you talked about this, like, I think we should really go for it now. And I was, surprised, like, why now? Like, why all of a sudden? She said she just also felt a desire that we should be doing this. All along, it's always been reoccurring thoughts in my mind that we really should do it, And again, that's why I said it's almost like a whisper, because all through building the business and the processes and all the challenges that came, that whisper, that voice in your head that is saying, this is going to work out, is what kept us going.
Yes.
So we started, from home then, after having the discussion and saying, okay, let's give it a shot. Our thoughts were to do it at a very small scale. So we wanted to start where we are, which I think is very fundamental to building any business. Is a lot of times you don't necessarily need to wait until you have everything to get going. You kind of need to start where you are.
Yeah.
There's a lot of biblical basis for that, starting with what you have in your
hands. Yes.
Exactly. So we decided to start from home. I remember when we made our first purchase of a mixer for about $1,000. We had several meetings about that. Are you sure we want to spend $1,000? Just to trial and see if this would really work. And we spent $1,000. Then we bought the mixer and we were celebrating buying $1,000 mixer. To start working on the recipe. And when we started, initially we were distributing the breads to churches. Okay. So we had different people at different churches, Nigerian churches that we were giving it to, and they would take it to church on Sunday and usually sell it and then give us back the money, right? That was our strategy to sort of launch and test the market.
Test waters.
But after a while, when we did that, the sales started off really well, but things started slowing down at some point. And I remember saying to my wife that it's not moving as well as I think it should. After this week, if we don't make this number of sales, I think we're just going to shut it down. Because this seems like it's not really working out. And again, the lesson from that I've learned is to pay attention to the signs. I find like going through the journey in life, there are usually so many signposts that God puts in place to kind of lead us on into what we're supposed to be doing, right? So that week I said to her, okay, after this, if there's not a large number of sales, we're going to shut things down and just move on back to our careers and other things, right? And at the beginning of that week, there was barely any sales. So we were already anticipating shutting things down. And out of the blues, a lady called and she said, I want to make so orders.
Wow.
I said, what? For what? She said, I want to start carrying the product and I want to sell it. I tried it, I loved it. I need this many number of products. We were about to shut down. So we had to go back to the drawing board and say, let's go back to, actually working and developing this as a business.
Yeah.
And that's sort of how we started off with the branding and
all that.
And sort of developing the structure of the business.
Okay, so let me just quickly ask this. Do you know how to bake prior to that time?
Well, so we both have, I would say, like basic
experience.
We've never run a bakery before, so or a food production business. But we both have basic knowledge of baking.
Adding flour to water and all that and all those things, So and making pop-off, I think.
Exactly.
Yes, okay. And how did you come about the name Arabelle? How did you come about that name? Is very unique. Do you want to answer that for me?
So when we were having children, or when we planned to start having kids, we had a list of names.
Okay.
He wanted a girl. He wanted a girl so bad. So the name we picked out for the girl was Arabelle.
Wow.
But we ended up with two boys. We still have the A names, but we didn't have any girls. So that's where the Arabelle comes from. That's our baby girl, basically.
Yeah. Dreams come true.
Exactly. Well, so how did you come up with STO Global Concept though? Because that's also a very unique name.
Exactly.
I've always sort of wondered if it was like your initial,
like an acronym of something.
I've always wondered what it meant.
Wow. Well, STO Global Concept, quite a lot of people don't really know what the STO stands for. They see it as an acronym.
Right.
It is an acronym, but it's got a deeper meaning.
Okay.
So STO stands for Shame the Oppressors.
Oh, interesting.
Shame the oppressors.
And can you talk about exactly the oppressors?
Exactly. So that's an interesting one.
We are the oppressors.
So we, in the course of our journey in life, we figured out our values. We figured out what we find passion in doing. And we decided, okay, we're going to set up a non-for-profit organization where we could reach out to the needy, support them using our skills and our talents. Bumi is gifted in music, I'm gifted in writing, so we just figured out we could do some things. And we are part of a church. Bumi grew up in the church, I also grew up in the church. But there are some things in the church that we figured out that somehow the pastors will not want to talk about, reasons we don't understand. For instance, the pastor will not come and talk about sex on the pulpit, but we are human, right? And it's part of who we are.
Yes.
So we figured out that, okay, we could provide solutions to such issues. So that was how we started with, okay, let's see what we can do in that area to support the people. We could use music to take away the tension and provide a solution. We could do motivational talks like we're having right now on the platform. We could go into community engagement. So when we're talking about the oppressors that STO Global Concept is to shame, those oppressors are not oppressors that are particular to unbelievers. They are oppressors of our destiny. They are oppressors of who we should be in Christ Jesus. Because Christ created every one of us for a purpose, but there are certain oppressors that we want to limit us from attaining what God has destined us to become. Not necessarily because you are not a believer. Hunger is an oppression. Unemployment is an oppression. Anger is an oppression. So these are all the vices that we came together and concluded they are oppressors to us believers and unbelievers. So STO Global Concept is set to shame those oppressors of our lives.
Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, because, you know, there are things militating about militating against who God wants us to be in life.
Right.
And for us to be able to identify those things. So many people cannot even understand. I'll say this now. So many people don't even have a goal in life. They're just moving. And that is actually an oppressor. For you to be able to identify yourself and identify what you're good at, know what God wants for your life. So being able to identify it is actually very, very important. So we come here to talk about things like that. Open people's eyes to it, make them understand, you know, these are ways to do this and all that. Just profile alternative solutions. That is what STO is all about. All right, so we go back now. So starting up a business, most importantly, a business that is not common or popular with a particular environment could be very, very demanding and challenging. So can you share with us some of your startup challenges?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. Like you rightly said, like I think one of the biggest challenges we had was we were hoping to do something that no one had done before. So we didn't have a blueprint. We didn't have any mentorship, or we were not connected to any organization that could sort of help develop that dream. So we basically had to start from scratch. Everything from scratch. I think some of the bigger challenges we had to deal with was mostly in our minds as well, like sort of conquering the fear. Right? A lot of times there are so many people out there with bright ideas, but that never launch out to even attempt to
into the limelight. Yes.
So the biggest part was the fear, right? And you would find over time when you're running a business, this would be a constant, I would say, issue that you have to kind of deal with and manage. So for us, the big part was the fear, where we kind of had to take time to push out against.
So how did you deal with it?
Well, so personally, I'm sure she has her own story of how she dealt with it as well. But for me personally, like through my life experiences, I've sort of learned to have a symbiotic relationship with fear. I experience it fully, but it just doesn't necessarily stop me from doing
that thing. Yeah.
I find that the best part of life is usually on the opposite side of fear, and fear would immobilize you so many times.
Yes.
I think that's what they call the paralysis of analysis, when you're overthinking things that it stops you from actually doing it. So at the beginning, it was a big factor for us because this was new. One of the big challenges also was, like I mentioned, no mentorship. Like there was no one out there that had done it. So there was no one we could ask the question. We struggled with financing the business, given that it was a food production business, and what the cost would be, the capital to launch it. We were looking at upwards of over $100,000 to start it, right? So I remember the first time we went to the bank to even discuss possibly getting a loan. It was a major bank in Canada, and we were sort of explaining together that we're starting this business where we're going to make a special type of bread, and it's going to do really well. The bank manager looked at us very shocked, like, what are you talking about? So he said, could you wait, I'm coming. I want to go get my boss. So he left the room, went to get somebody else, and they both sat across from us, just like you guys are now, and they're like, could you say that again? Like, and he said, do you know how many different types of bread exist in Canada? When you go to any average store, like, and the bakery shop, there's several different types of bread. Right? So they obviously turned us away, and they're like, no, this is not going to work. So that was a challenge, but all through that, we sort of stuck to that vision. Again, it was like a persistent whisper that just wouldn't go away. The name for the bakery, the name for the bread, Lagos Loaf, all that was a whisper that you need to do this. So we just sort of continued to push through one step at a time. It was like a mountain that we wanted to climb. Again, to answer your question on how I conquered my fear, one step at a time. Like a lot of times when you're looking at the mountain and you're fixated on how tall the mountain is, you
may not want to move.
But I found personally for me, one is just taking the next step. Celebrate the success of taking that step and then take the next one. And then also spiritually being grounded in God's word, right? And what God's plan is for you. The more you develop your relationship with God, it's sort of easier to know what he's telling you.
Yes.
And often we think when God calls you to do something, that the road is going to be
No way. It's never been
in
like
fact,
that.
the inverse is the case.
It is always
you are
the case.
guaranteed that if God tells you, open that door and go out, you need to look outside the window.
You have to
because
check.
There's something, he has something planned for you.
Yes.
And that was exactly our experience. Like every turn of the road, there was one challenge, even up till now, like almost 10 years in the business, there's always a new challenge, a new
something to deal with.
Circumstance that we have to problem solve and deal with.
Yes. And for me, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think that was one of our, those were the biggest. But also as well, when you move away from there, that we had a dream of what we wanted the bakery to be like. We wanted it to be different, you know, how it's presented to the world. We wanted it to be professional, the best quality of everything, you know, best customer service. But now coming down to the nitty-gritty where you don't have any mentor, just like you said, we have to now create that culture and that structure within our business. That was also very challenging. Creating a structure that would run on its own, even either we are present or not.
Yeah.
Creating a structure that maintains the culture of what the bakery should be and all of that, it was very challenging. You know, hiring people who would have that dream with you. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
Understanding the Canadian laws as well.
The regulations, backing it up,
Regulations
yeah.
and things like that, and you know the resources. You basically don't know what resources are available to you. We had to dig and research and make mistakes, and before we could figure out how to run the business. And so, but you know, through it all, one of the biggest things that I learned was learning to lean on God.
Yes, very important.
Through it all.
Yeah.
That it's not a mistake that we were there. We were not there by chance. He put us there, and it was an opportunity for us, and we were not going to take it for granted. So we put everything into it.
Into God's hand, yeah.
So, you know, we just thank God that He's been with us through it all.
Yeah. All right, so we'll quickly go on a short break, and by the time we come back, we're going to start with Gbolahan to hear a bit of how SCO started. Don't go away. We will be right back.
Welcome to Royalty Cooperative. Our mission is to provide our members with access to a diverse range of products, supplies, and services at affordable prices, all while fostering a sense of ownership in a business designed to yield dividends for our stakeholders. By harnessing the strength of Manitoba's thriving Black community, both in business and in the private sector, we've established a close-knit community of like-minded individuals, pooling their resources to create a cooperative business model for the mutual prosperity of all. At Royalty Cooperative, our dedication lies within uniting individuals within the Black community to cultivate and expand our collective wealth. We cater for the needs of Black and African families, offering an array of groceries, household essentials, and vital services. Our unique model ensures that needs are not only met, but that prosperity is shared among our members. Why wait? Join us today in our mission to build a stronger, more prosperous community. For more information about Royalty Cooperative, please visit our website at www.royaltycoop.com or reach out to us at 431-554-7748. Royalty Cooperative. Your future of shared prosperity starts here.
Your wedding day is one of the most important days of your life. It's a day filled with love, laughter, and memories that will last a lifetime. But how can you ensure that those memories will never fade? With stunning wedding videography. Our experienced videographers use the latest technology to capture every precious moment of your special day. From the first kiss as husband and wife to the last dance of the night, we'll make sure to capture the raw emotions and special moments, like your heartfelt vows that you'll want to look back on for years to come. We'll also make sure to catch all the candid moments that make your wedding unique, the laughter, the tears, and the joy shared between you and your loved ones. With our wedding videography, you'll be able to relive your special day over and over again. You'll be able to see the little moments you may have missed and relive the memories that will last a lifetime. Don't let your memories fade away. Contact us today to book your wedding videographer and make sure your special day is captured forever.
Chess Kings Car Rental. We provide cars, SUVs, and trucks for rent. We will deliver the car to you at your house, office, airport, or any other location that works best for you. Our priority is to make our customers extremely satisfied with car rental service. Try us today. To make a reservation, visit our website at www.chesskings.ca or call us on 204-887-7777.
You're welcome back from that short break. So before we went on that break, the topic for this course for today on the program, The Platform, is entrepreneurship and marriage. And with me in the studios, I have the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and I have Gbolahan Odunto also here with me. You're welcome back once again. So before we went on that break, we listened to the challenges from Akitunde about establishing Arabelle Bakery and all that they have went through before getting to where they are right now. So we're going to listen to Gbolahan to share his views also on the challenges STO has also gone through. Bola, over to you.
Thank you very much. Talking about challenges, just like Mr. Akintunde mentioned, starting up something where no one had walked past through the path before could be a challenge on itself. So for us at STO Global Concept, the first challenge we had is the challenge of acceptability. It's a non-for-profit. People don't understand why you want to run a run-for-profit. It's not a profit-oriented business. Why that? This is about passion, right? And because it's also from the religious perspective, people are like, probably they want to start a church. We can't support them, right? And when we're talking about oppressors, these are some of the oppressors as well, even in Christendom, where you would have expected that, because we are doing something for his kingdom, people will just come to support. But that wasn't what we found. Perhaps because we've not had people walk past through that path before. So acceptability was a great challenge, but because we understood quite well what the vision was and what we wanted to achieve, we were not really bothered about that. So for us to overcome that, part of the strategies was anywhere we go to, we easily make the vision known. Even when we are meeting with religious organizations.
So like from the beginning?
From the beginning, we let them know what the intent is. I've not been called to be a pastor. I've not been called to set up a church. But I've been called to reach out, to be a solution to people's problems, right? I don't need a church to do that. God has not called me into the four walls to do that. So that's one of the things we came across, and we had to continuously, even till now, those challenges are still there because some people still will not accept that vision for what it is, but some people have come to see. And another thing, when people talk about COVID in the negative, I always talk about COVID in the positive because it was really helpful for us to overcome those challenges. When we started, we never had a mentor, just like you mentioned. We never had a script to walk through. We just needed to sit down, map out what the vision will be, what the mission statement will be, how do we walk through all those parts to make this realistic for people to accept. So part of the things we had to do was whilst we were doing that, we got incorporated in 2019. In 2020, whilst we were working on the blueprint, COVID set in, right? And when COVID set in, because we were not called to be a church, there were so many platforms upon which we could reach out to people, we could be a support to them in fulfilling what the vision was. So at that moment, we leveraged on technology to reach out to people, even beyond what we had thought. We were envisaging Winnipeg, Manitoba. Through the internet, we were able to cut across the globe. And that represented the name of the brand, STO Global Concept. So it's not limited to Winnipeg, neither is it limited to Canada. It's a global thing. So the oppressors we're talking about, they're not limited to us at our immediate environment. It's global. So the fear of acceptability gradually diminished because people could see that I'm not leveraging on your church to reach out to people. I'm not coming to take over your church or take over your membership. Rather, I'm here to partner with you, with the organization, so that we can collectively fulfill the mandate of God.
But like, so how did you personally deal with that fear of being accepted or not? Like, because like you mentioned, that's always an ongoing thing. Like you sort of wonder, would people accept you for what your intention is with the business, right? Personally, how did you manage that fear?
Oh, well, to manage that fear, understanding their standpoint makes it easy for us to say, okay, we understand where you're coming from, and this is who we are, and put that across. Number one, we pray about whatever we are doing. We pray that God touches their hearts for them to see what we are seeing or what we are talking about. Number two is communication. We try as much as possible to communicate, either one-on-one, through letters, through flyers that we send out, and our events as well, it's made open. So I think with time, people have come to understand what we stand for and what the vision is all about. So on our part, to overcome that, it's something that from day one, we understood it. So we just take a step backward when it comes that, okay, I understand where you're coming from, no problems. It's just for me to simmer what you're saying and see how I can represent myself to you.
That's good.
All right. Thank you very much. So one thing that I'm able to take out of this, I don't know for me if you agree with me, is that if you have a dream, people should just run with it. Whether you have the template, the blueprint or whatever, just start. Because when you are thinking of the challenges, you are looking at the negatives and all that, at the end of the day, what wouldn't start anything? Just like for Arabelle now. If you hadn't started it, you won't be here today.
I remember when we started STO Global Concept, funny enough, we never had any equipment. There were days that we will run productions with just our telephone, and there are days that I'm behind the camera,
Playing multiple roles.
I know nothing about editing. When we're talking about music, it's my wife that knows everything about music, even though I've been in the choir before, but it's a different genre of music that she's into. So when she talks about some dynamics into it, I'm like, what's she talking about? And these are things that are cost impacting. So the cost aspect of it was a great challenge. Yeah, there are times that we have projects and no startup capital, right?
Yes.
And you just have to run through. We thank God for partners that God brought along paths our way. We had people that will come. Dime Corp is one of them.
Yeah.
They will come and say, "Oh, we could run this production for you at no cost." They helped in that area. And at times when we see that we are not able to meet with the cost of productions, there are times that she plays so many roles. She plays so many roles. And for me, it's easy to be at the back of the camera trying to see, okay, what can we do when we don't have these? And now we run productions with 3-4 cameras. But there was a time we started with just a mobile phone. We never knew anything about editing. Someone started editing for us with just the same phone. And today, the rest is history.
Apparently, when we started the platform, this program, I was only the one on set. And he will be behind the camera recording what he feels is the best he could do at that time.
That's incredible.
But over time, you know, surmounting challenges and all that, we are here today.
It sort of takes me back to what I was saying earlier about starting with what you have. The biblical story of David and Goliath, very popular childhood story, is David went to fight Goliath with the stones and the slings, but a lot of people are not aware that when he actually killed Goliath, he killed him with a sword and not a stone. In verse 51 of that story, you realize that the Bible says when he actually killed Goliath, he cut off his head.
His head, yes.
But when he went to battle, he didn't go with a sword.
With the sword, yeah.
The sword was provided when it was time to kill
Goliath.
He went with the tools of his trade that he uses day to day. He has fought a lion and a bear.
Yes.
So he went to battle with that. But you can imagine when God saw him going into battle to fight Goliath, and God is thinking, he's going to kill Goliath with a sword.
With a sword.
And the angels are asking, but where's the sword? Who's providing the sword? When you go, the tools you need for the next chapter will be provided to you.
Just like when God told Abraham to sacrifice Isaac. Abraham was going with Isaac, of course. That was the only child he had. And, you know, going, and the Lord said, I will provide. He will provide. But I'm sure that Abraham will just be like, well, he said he will provide. Isaac, let's go. And at the end of the day, at the point when Abraham was about to slay Isaac, the Lord said, Abraham. And, you know.
You just hinted on something quite fundamental there, that when God gives that vision, the tools
He makes the provision.
I've heard it so many times, to be honest, that when God gives a vision, there will be a provision. But I never understood it until we started STO Global Concept. We've been on different projects that there are times, to be honest, when we put down the blueprint of such projects, I'm like, can we do this? Can we do this? But I thank God for a partner in her that will always reiterate it, that if it's God's vision, we will play our part and He will fulfill the other part. And that has been the story. That has been the storyline. So far, so good. God is quite faithful.
He's faithful. He's faithful.
He's quite faithful, provided we are working within His vision. Because I've come to see situations where people try to run other people's dream. If it's not your dream,
you can't even wear that song.
And that's what I was going to say. That sometimes you get yourself involved in something that is not God's will. And He would look for a way to draw you back. Because, you know, before we started the bakery, we had other business ideas. We had been talking about business for years.
Restaurant, right?
From the restaurant, you already had the name.
We registered the business.
Registered the name. I wanted to start a daycare. And I went for, you know, some courses, and, you know, there were so many, everything was just not working out. You know, call here, can I get a property? And they're saying no. Things, you know, steps that should be easy wasn't working out. And, you know, my husband looked at me and said, you know, I know you love kids, but
Seems that's not it.
I think this
Something is missing. Yeah, it's not it.
It's not the business for you. You know, and you know, looking back now, I had done a lot of courses. I had taken a lot of steps forward, and for me, that was basically a failure. But just because you fail doesn't mean you should give up.
Yeah.
You just have to learn from that. You know, I had to learn, how does God speak to us
Yeah.
as a couple when there is no way, then He doesn't want that.
That is it.
Just know that is not His will.
Yeah, and let me take it from you. For me, that's part of when you fail. You know, most people fail and stay there.
Yes.
So that is another thing that we all need to understand, that when you fail, that doesn't mean you should stay there.
Right.
You have to rise
Yes.
and move again. Probably
Because
that
even
one.
in that failure,
Yeah,
there's something
there
to
is a
learn.
lesson to
Right.
learn.
Right.
Yeah, but I think so many people miss that part out, and once something is not working out, they just give up.
They just give up.
And once you give up, of course, that is what the devil wants.
Yes.
You will not be able to fulfill destiny anyway.
Yeah. I think a big part of failure, like you touched on, is what you can learn from it. Like failure would always constantly be a part
It
of
will be,
life.
yeah.
Yes,
You would always feel
always.
like something in one way or the other.
Yes.
But the most important thing is every time you fail, what is the gold you can extract from that?
Yeah.
Which is the lesson. Every failure has a lesson for you.
Yes.
Because we know there are no random events in life. Right? If there's something you failed at, what made you fail? How
Yeah.
did you get there?
Check
Right?
it, yeah.
Like the popular proverb in Nigeria that when an elderly person falls, they look
It looks
back.
back, yeah.
The child looks forward. When an elder would look back and say, what happened?
What
You know?
happened?
So over time, even in building Arabelle's Bakery Inc., there were several failures. Our
Yeah.
path is littered with failures.
Yeah.
Failed projects and
Yeah.
ideas.
Don't want to ask me about that.
So at some point, I had a notebook that every time we feel at something, remember when I was
Writing
I
it
would
down.
write down what,
Oh, yeah.
why did
What
we
happened,
fail,
yeah.
What happened,
what did we
yeah.
learn from
Yeah.
it, and then move forward.
And then
forward.
yeah, it's been it's like a school.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting and challenging journey. I wouldn't change it for anything.
Yeah, I know it's not easy, but actually it's going to be worth it at the end of the
Feel
way.
it.
Yeah. Then also something that I learned over time with STO is that we started from nothing. However, in the course of that journey, God has always put people and resources needed for everything on
Along
our
the
path,
way.
along the way.
Yes.
So right now we can call on Dime Corps today, we can call on anybody tomorrow to just like, okay, just like what we do with you guys too.
That's right.
Arabelle, we are doing this, can you be of help? So, you know, he has put so many people on our way, on that path, and we knew we are still on the journey. You want to say something?
Yeah, there's a question I want to ask from you guys, because as much as we're talking about this business and what have you, somehow it impacts on our marriages.
Yes, it does.
Because I know what I go through.
Yes, it does. There is no lie in that. Yes, it does.
So I would like to know, how do you blend that into your business?
Business.
Managing the marriage and the business. How do you create the balance?
Well, for me, it was creating a structure. The business made me understand that I needed to be more structured. I needed to create a structure for the bakery, create a better structure for
the
my
home.
home, and balance both
Both.
out. And that was very, very, very challenging.
Challenging.
Yeah, people underestimate how much it takes away from your finances, how much it takes away from your time,
Yeah.
how much it takes away from you mentally, emotionally.
Yes.
You underestimate it. And I think, I mean, it would have a lot of stories. I think I'll throw this over to you. It would have a lot of stories to tell. Do you want to?
Sure. Well, for me, so what I found over time, like, I think starting the bakery was one of the biggest challenges to our marriage. Actually.
Yes.
We had been married for maybe how many years before we started the bakery?
8, 9.
Yeah, about 8, 9 years. So we had a very solid foundation,
Okay.
right, of our relationship. we did not see it coming. We started the bakery around the time we had our last son. We just got a dog then. there was so many things going on.
Wait, let me interrupt you here. I was pregnant for our last baby.
Right.
I was 8 or 7 months gone.
so,
I was almost due, and then it brings home a newborn, a puppy. So we had a puppy.
Okay.
We had a newborn
A
baby.
baby, yeah. So you're
Continue
taking
the
care of
story.
You can only imagine the chaos that ensued. And it was a huge challenge to our marriage. We had some of the worst fights we've ever had.
Yeah.
We've been married for 15 years now, and some of the worst fights ever was during that
During that
period.
period, wow.
Because I find that when you're dating someone and you end up marrying them, you only have an idea of
Who
really
they are, yeah.
You don't really, there's no way you can know 100% who anyone
No
is,
way.
no matter how many years you've been married.
Yeah.
Because you haven't seen them in every circumstance.
Yes.
What the business does is it introduces a new environment. So now I'm seeing her in a new environment as a leader, as a manager, as a finance person, and I'm looking for skills. Like, do you have the skills? So some of the things we did that really helped us was being able to draw a line in business and personal life, right? We had to establish the structure. Like, one of the things I always think of is there's an analogy that is not necessarily perfect, but it's sort of like what marriage is, and that's a corporation, a business corporation. We sort of see it as a corporation where there are shareholders, but like every corporation, it's so important to have a clear leader.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I think is a big challenge for most marriages.
Yes.
There needs to be a clear leader.
Yeah.
Yes.
The leadership in this sense is not what most people think leadership is, which is, well, I'm the boss here, I get to call the shots. But it's more of an act of service, because now as the leader, as the CEO of this marriage corporation, you're responsible for the well-being of everybody and the business itself. So we kind of had to establish, okay, this is our professional relationship. When we are at the business, we relate to each other professionally. I would ask her, okay, this is what your report needs to be, and I need to report by tomorrow. And we take it serious. But when we're at home, now it's a personal life.
Yes,
and,
it's
being
different.
able to go back and forth between those two different. I think that helped us a lot.
And that's the structure. Like, me saying things by mouth and saying, but I told you by mouth. Like, no, the structure we created is you had to send a message.
Okay.
And, structures like that. And then learning to manage our time.
Yeah.
We still have to go on. We have to have dates. We have to have one-on-one time. I have the tendency to be a workaholic. I would walk till I drop.
Very hard work.
I would walk till I drop, and the self-care, not caring for myself properly, in a way that I'm able to be there for my family. And when you don't have quality time together and you don't pay attention to your love languages, and it starts to have an effect on the relationship.
Yes.
That's falling apart.
Even, you got to a point where my children, when we were praying at night, and they're saying, oh, we pray that
Daddy will have time for you guys.
And one day my son asked and said, who is more important?
Oh.
The bakery or, because the bakery or us, you have to pick. So those are the things, and so having that communication open and being willing to listen, understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses, not asking each other to do what we know we may not be capable of. It's outside your capability. We had to learn to manage our expectations. We have a lot of stories to
so do we.
And a lot of fights.
Oh yeah, why brought that
arguments,
question, which, because like I said, it's a part that we don't have anyone to mentor.
There's no template,
So there's quite a lot of learning curve in all we do. And in all honesty, if I say it's never affected our marriage, then I'll be lying. Since we got married, we never had a fight, just like you said, like we had about 3 years ago. We went for a production like this, and for the very first time, I lost it. I had to leave the car
Right.
for her on the highway. That was the height of it. And what were we talking about? We were just talking about the production.
Okay.
Oh, you should have done this, you should have done that, and it brought out different banters.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
At an instance, I'm just like, okay, you know what? I want
Take
my
the car
peace.
key.
Take the car key. You can go home. I'll find my way. That was it. And because for businesses,
Right.
when it's couples coming into it,
Yes. Together. Yeah.
together, you mentioned so many vital points. There's
Yeah.
need for us to pay attention
Yeah.
to our love
Communication.
life, communicate,
Yeah.
spend quality
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
together. She's like you. She's a workaholic. There are times we are on the highway till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she goes for rehearsals, productions, and I can't leave her alone. I have to be there for her. So at times when I'm saying like, you know what, you need to step it down a little bit, she's like, no, you have to do this. You have to do this.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if it's peculiar to you.
As though she knows what you're talking about.
Yes. It's and you know, it's nice to hear other people have
Yeah.
the same challenges. And you know, if anyone is listening out there, yes, it takes a toll on your relationship,
Yeah.
but it's not the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not, you have to find, in fact, I think at some point I told you, I said, you know what, find somebody to take my position.
Should hire somebody else.
Somebody else, I'm
I
done.
told her that at a point in time, so that I think you need to get
You
a
know.
different manager.
Yeah. But, you know, I had to learn to also, you know, he does so much. So I asked myself, what's my excuse? I gave up my nursing career to do this.
To do the business.
And he's doing so much.
So
I
much.
still, for a while we were living on just his income. Because when you start a business, you don't pay yourself.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yes.
So he's on, and he makes all these decisions for us. And, you know, it's not time for me to be touchy when he's telling me this is how things need to
Should
be
go,
done.
yeah.
I know his strengths, and when he's advising me on things according to his strengths, I need to be there to
Attentive.
listen
Yes.
and be attentive.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Akitade. Thank you very much, Fumi. Thank you very much, Bola. So, I want to make a promise here right now that we have to do a part B of part 2 of this very edition. Am I correct? So we are coming back again because there are some questions that we cannot touch today. So we have to come back, exactly, to now do the part B. Agreed?
Agreed. Yeah.
Agreed, good. So guys, with you of definitely everybody on set. So guys, there's going to be part B of this program, Marriage and Entrepreneurship. And this is how we wrap up today's edition of your program, The Platform. And on behalf of STO Global Concept, I want to say a very big thank you to Akitade and Fumi, the CEOs of Arabelle Bakery Incorporated right here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and also my amiable husband, Bola Odunton. So I'm going to see you on the other side. Don't go away.